Hi, I'm Danny.
And I'm Si. Welcome to Business and a Brew, a podcast dedicated to all things business with the occasional cover.
We take a business story, theory, or something we just want to chat about and give it a dusting of our own special personality and sense of humour, combined with our experience and knowledge. We're both business graduates and have run our own businesses for many years. We can't wait for you to listen.
Hi.
You're right.
Hmm.
I want to talk about Boeing. But not bending, Boeing. Oh God, it's early. Aeroplanes.
Yes.
Yes, the aeroplanes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because it's a name everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
They're not actually that safe. As aeroplanes go, they're not actually that safe. Obviously, air travel is still the safest form of transport.
Yeah.
Statistically.
But they were known for safety.
They were, but then they started trying to bring out extra models and things too quickly. And it did cause some issues. So they started in 1916. And it became the name in, what's it called? Aerospace? Is it aerospace?
Aeronautics or aerospace, yeah.
All right, in the air. It became the name in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And the Boeing 737, which was introduced in 1968, became the world's best-selling commercial jet. I think it probably still is. I mean, it's the one that, like Jet 2 and everyone used. They buy all the old ones. It's probably not that great now I think about it. And it's operated by most major airlines across the UK and the US. It's a worldwide thing. But they had a number of issues with a number of different models. So the 737 MAX had two quite severe, is there such a thing as a non-severe air crash? It had two quite big crashes. One was on Lion Air Flight 610 in 2018, when it crashed into the Java Sea, killing all 189 people on board. And Ethiopian's Airline Flight 302 in 2019 crashed shortly after takeoff, resulting in 157 fatalities. So,
right.
But
and they were very close together.
They were very close
real
together,
terms,
so a year apart, or probably not a full year. Both crashes were linked to the maneuvering characteristics augmentation system,
right.
MCAS, which had malfunctioned due to faulty sensor errors. So the MCAS enhances pitch stability. So essentially, if you're...
Oh, you sound like an expert.
Thank you very much. If you're going too steep and your nose is pointing too high, it forces the nose back down. Not to level, but to enough so that you're not at that ridiculous pitch. And it malfunctioned, basically.
Right.
I'm not sure whether it malfunctioned up or down, as in it overcompensated or didn't correct, but yeah.
I think I know a bit about this.
Oh yeah, leading to uncontrolled nose down movements, overcorrected down.
Right. And am I right that this would, I'm just going back because I did actually hear about this, I did read about this a couple of years ago, that there was training that was in place or that could have actually resulted in those pilots actually being able to know how to.
Yeah, I think there was that. I think, but the bigger problem was the problem shouldn't have existed in the first place. Yes, absolutely. You should put in training to mitigate.
What they were doing was overcompensating. Is
the plane was overcompensating itself, and they didn't know how to handle that. So part of the problem was that the 737 MAX was rushed to redesign to accommodate larger engines for longer journeys and various different things. They cut corners, they compromised safety, and they wanted to get it out quickly. And of course, that leads to a plane that's not quite as ready as it could be to go up. And it ended up grounding the entire 737 MAX fleet. The FAA grounded it from March 2019 to November 2020.
So if the FAA grounds it, then...
It's serious, It's not, I chose to put this plate on the ground. It's very serious. And it's
not your opinion here.
No.
This is your reporting of fact.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So Boeing faced over $20 billion in direct costs and an estimated $60 billion in indirect losses as a result of that, which is ridiculous because it wouldn't have cost them that much to take a little bit longer and get the model right in the first place.
I suppose they would have known that. But then again, what was their leadership like at the time?
Well, generally speaking in the area, there's a lot about the corporate culture prioritise profit over safety anyway. So... And we've talked about this.
I've never heard of that before.
Never, no. Well, I think we talked about it before with the Ford Pinto. Sometimes when you're pushing for profitability, for speed to market, for the next model to be the first and the forerunner, you end up cutting these corners. And all right, that might be all right with a microwave or a toaster, but it's not all right with a plane with 189 lives on it. And unfortunately, that's what they did. There was flawed engineering, inadequate regulatory oversight.
You're struggling with your...
I am struggling with my words this morning. That's fine. It's fine. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. There was a saying, I think it was back in the 50s or the 60s, if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. So what were the consequences then of these accidents? All right, was their fleet of those aircraft, of the MAX aircraft, grounded?
They were grounded until November 2020, and then they were obviously retrofitted with a solution.
Right.
But like in the UK...
So how long did it take them to acknowledge that?
I don't think they ever really acknowledged it so much as just quietly solved the problem and then launched them again. There was a Savanta poll that found that 72% of UK adults were aware of Boeing safety incidents, with 76% expressing concern about air travel safety.
Right.
I don't suppose it really stopped them. Apparently 55%.
So therefore, if it's Boeing, I ain't going.
Well, quite. Right. 55% of those aware said they would change their travel behaviour, with 20% researching aircraft types before booking flights. But I imagine that is quite a short-term effect. Like, I know of these
once
things.
No one dies, then that's less important.
Yeah, I don't start thinking about, Jet2 happens to be the cheap, and other airline providers, whoever happens to be the cheapest. I don't go, what are they flying with? It's a Boeing. You just don't think about it.
Some people do.
Some people do, but I think
some people do it out of interest because they know what the configuration is on the inside.
Like a train spotter, but like a plane spotter.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
No. Just more about so that they know where they're going to end up sitting and what the seating arrangements are going to be like, and whether it's going to be 3 across the middle and one aisle of 1 or 2 or...
You sound like you too research the configuration of planes. One of the other things they had a problem with is they never involved pilots in the development of their planes.
Didn't they?
No. So it's a bit like trying out a recipe but never actually eating it. And then just going, I'm sure this tastes
great. Or tasting it to adjust the seasoning.
I never do that. Because I don't like doing that.
God.
But anyway, it's like, how do you expect these people to pilot this massive, highly complex operational item, but they've had no input into, from first-hand experience, what they need, what they don't need?
That beggars belief, because if you think about flight testing, flight test programs, and particularly when you think about experimental aircraft, and I know it's not an experimental aircraft, it's a commercial aircraft, there's a certain amount of complacency there that you're producing something, and actually what about test pilots?
I mean, they can fly one, they can fly them all. Here's a plane.
They must have had test pilots.
Yes, but I think the test pilots were used for post-development rather than during the development phase.
You think?
Well, I'm sorry, I do not know that level of detail.
So
I know that they didn't include pilots in the development process, so I don't know at which point a test pilot was brought in.
Actual commercial pilots.
Correct.
Right, okay. That's interesting.
And one would have thought they were the best placed people to give information about...
That's kind of sounding a little bit like hubris then.
A little bit. I think it's just more a concern for profit. So they had other issues on the 737 MAX, which weren't related to the M thingy, the manoeuvring down nose thing, which I can't remember what it's called now. So Alaska Airlines flight 1282 in 2024, the door plug blew out mid-flight, which naturally caused very rapid decompression.
Blimey.
All 177 occupants thankfully survived in that incident, but it did lead to the grounding.
Did no one get sucked out then? Wow.
They held on really tight.
Oh, wow.
And then in American Airlines flight in 2025, there was an engine fire on another Boeing 737. It landed in Denver due to improperly installed parts, and it caused an engine fire with 12 people sustaining injuries.
Blimey.
Minor ones, not thankfully major ones. And obviously it just keeps going. That was, so the first two were 2018, 2019. This is 2024 and 2025. They already got told off once about corner cutting. Their quality control doesn't seem to be improving as they go on. Because you'd expect someone who's had that many losses and that much of an impact on their reputation to go, right, we need to tighten this bit up because we don't want to lose our business. But it's hard to say if this is ongoing. You had 2 that were related to the manoeuvring capability. This is 1 for the door plug and 1 for the engine fire. Would you call that a repeat? Would you call that a one-off statistically of all the flights that go?
Sounds like a very unfortunate set of coincidences off the back of 2 major
Yeah,
crashes.
it is unfortunate.
It
It's
sounds
unfortunate
like
that it was the same breed of plane, model of plane.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's a ongoing problem with that model, but it could just be dumb luck.
Yeah.
It could just be very unfortunate. Obviously, they end up with massive disruption because of it. Because when they ground a fleet, obviously you're taking a load of planes out of circulation.
Yeah.
Delays, frustration from customers.
Yeah.
Ryanair especially are very frustrated by delivery delays of Boeing.
Right.
Like we're distressed by the delay of
Bad
their
press.
flights. Yes.
We wouldn't be talking about it.
No, we would not be talking about it.
Talking about another aircraft manufacturer.
Well, that's true. I don't know any others off the top of my head.
that have had problems like that.
No. But they are, I mean, they did take steps towards recovery. They are taking steps. Leadership changes. So Boeing appointed new chief executives committed to enhancing safety culture. I don't know the exact date of that, but if they're still having problems in 2025, potentially, I would say that's not been that effective. Quality improvements with initiatives including increased inspections, transparency with regulators, so just generally owning the quality aspect of it and the fact that they were responsible for that level of. And then, despite challenges, Boeing's stock has actually shown significant signs of recovery with a 20% increase in 2025.
Well, that's all it needs is a little bit of time with no crashes, and
people forget.
Yeah, they do very quickly. Yeah.
I mean, air travel is still the safest form.
You know, and the thing is, when you see something like that drop, it's the short-sighted nature of stock market volatility that people kind of first thing to do is run away from it and lose value on all that stock that you've bought.
Yeah.
Knowing if you did stick around with it, it would bounce back.
It would eventually
anyway.
bounce back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think they have an endemic problem with quality control. I think they did cut corners and have an issue with it.
But didn't they have? I've got something saying in my head that there was a senior management or senior leadership that was problematic though. Is that not right?
Not the angle I looked at, so
no.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm just going to let you recall that story that you may or may not remember correctly.
No, I don't remember it. I don't remember correctly. There was just a question over that. Was there something else? Yeah. It's the airline industry is fascinating in that they. I don't think we've covered it in any other
we've never talked
episodes,
about aeroplanes.
but the way that the National Transport Safety Board (NTSB), basically any aircraft that crashes anywhere in the world, they go investigate it.
So it's not like jurisdiction, like
No. I think it's literally they fly teams out and they piece the aircraft back together meticulously
to work out exactly what
went wrong. Yeah, they are unbelievably resourceful and incredibly detailed to come up with the answer every time. There's absolutely no doubt what's happening. They always find So an aircraft that disappears over the sea, like the MH270, of course, just speculations to what happened.
You've got no bits.
It could be anything, aliens.
You can't put your puzzle back together.
Yeah. But they've been involved in air incidents since, God, I don't know how many decades it goes back. But there were some minor changes that were made to aircraft. And I do know a bit about this because I've heard a bunch of horrible stories. One of them was there were aircraft that were crashing because the controls were mixed up by the pilot.
As in left was right and right was left.
Pilot error arising from fatigue.
Yeah.
They switched the wrong switch, so instead of bringing the wheels down, they opened the flaps, and what you ended up with was a problem with the plane then crashing. So what they did is they basically gave the flaps had the basically as a control surface. They actually had levers that looked like the flaps, looked like the wings.
So your brain automatically goes,
wings. The undercarriage, basically shaped like a wheel.
Yeah.
So it completely solved the problem overnight. But of course, that doesn't ever take into consideration any manufacturing flaws and faults, and there have been those over the years. I used to listen to a podcast called Black Box Down. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole bunch of stories about.
That must be quite disturbing. Do you actually hear the black box?
They actually quote from it rather. You don't actually hear
Playing
it,
quite
but they
disturbing footage.
take you through the whole thing. They'll say what happened, what the crash was, but then they take you through it bit by bit.
I watched Final Destination once and had trouble getting on a plane. I'm not entirely sure I could listen to an entire podcast like that.
Yeah, I knew someone who couldn't get on a plane. The only way they could get on a plane was to put a blindfold on and take diazepam. Flight with the eye mask on, and would only take the eye mask off when the plane was landed and actually at the terminal.
Did they do long haul? Because that's a long time to be blind.
I don't actually know. Know, but yeah.
That is quite a severe phobia. Yeah. But fair play, they actually found a solution to it, because a lot of people just wouldn't bother flying.
Quite, yeah.
It's just that the air accidents are spectacular. They're big. The numbers are big. An entire plane of people is a big number. It's not like a road traffic accident when it's potentially limited to.
But the most important thing about those air traffic accidents, those air accidents, is that the NTSB investigate, they find out what the problem was, and they share the results of those findings
with everyone
internationally.
Yeah.
And therefore, the pilot, if it's any pilot error, for example, or a technical issue, or even a manufacturing issue, their search is to find that so it can never happen again. And that's why it's become so safe.
It's a bit like the way we talked about health and safety before. You can put all the legislation in, you can tell everyone that it was a manufacturing error, but you will still potentially get companies who prioritise profit over safety and could take the shortcuts. I'm not saying anyone does. I'm not saying Boeing does anymore. I'm just saying that, yes, you're right. They do a great job at finding what the error is.
They do an essential job.
And
it's an essential part of
making sure it's
industry.
never replicated, but you can't necessarily, you're not on every assembly line. You're not on every...
No, although, parts manufacturing is down to such such tolerances, everything, sizes. I've got a client who makes parts for aircraft.
Ooh. It's quite exciting.
The quality control in that is so strictly controlled. But anyway, it's just more the tightness of the entire industry is predicated on safety. So everything about it is about safety. So when you've got a rogue element that's intrinsic to the entire sector, that's kind of it's no wonder immediately fingers are pointing.
Oh, absolutely. But it's interesting that the safety is an iterative process. So every single time something happens, they learn and they improve and they learn and they
share.
Because I'm not even positive the motor industry uses that level of iterative design and improvement.
No, they can't. I think, well, I suppose they could, but
everyone brought in seatbelts, everyone brought in airbags.
Air accidents are so much more severe, and as you said, they're huge. There's a lot of people that die at any one time, and there is. It's almost like there's nothing worse than that kind of.
It's kind of sums up catastrophic, whereas RTAs, because you hear about them all the time, road traffic accidents, it doesn't seem quite as massive.
No, unless it's a really big one. But the air industry is put up against the health industry. There's a brilliant book by Matthew Said that I read called Black Box Thinking. Not black box reference there, where he was drawing up the comparison between the health service and surgery and air accidents, and he was putting up a series of air accidents that happened where the pilot was at fault.
Mm-hmm.
So there was nothing else involved, but the pilot was at fault, or the flight deck crew were at fault. And the investigation found that out, circulated that to everyone else, and those instances or incidents didn't happen again. Whereas in surgeries, particularly in surgery, there was some awful stories, and a particularly awful story about a woman that died on the operating table because of cognitive dissonance. And the cognitive dissonance that happens in a cockpit and that happens at the operating table. They were very much the same, which is where there's a narrowing of perception. And I must get to the airport, I must get to the next airport, or I must get to the original airport. I can't detour because I haven't got enough fuel left.
Yeah.
And time being literally lost in that process.
Yeah.
And someone dying because they suffocated on the table because the trachea closed up and they couldn't get
the tube down.
Yeah, and so it was drawing up the difference between that, because on that occasion, that person died, and the surgeon had been their dissonance almost, and because of their nature as a consultant, no one else in the operating theatre was allowed to say,
you're not allowed to say, what are you doing?
Step in.
Yeah.
Culture's changed in operating theatres now, which is where someone else can step in and say, right.
I don't know how much it's changed.
But I know. But you have this openness within the air industry.
Yeah.
But at that particular time, you had this kind of close-minded that basically the consultant was God in the theatre, and no one would question.
Yeah, even if you were watching someone die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is in fact what happened. The people stood around and watched that person die slowly.
It's awful.
Yeah, it is awful. It is awful, but it's an incredible comparison between the two. That there should be more sharing of knowledge within the health service.
Owning up to the mistake, pointing out how they can be mitigated next time.
I think the quote was, "It's unfortunate we couldn't revive her." I think it was something along those lines. I wasn't prepared for this, but it was that wasn't part of the quote. We couldn't revive her. It's just very unfortunate. That was it.
And then they go back to their daily life.
The lessons that were learned, well, they weren't learned quick enough, or they weren't learned. And it took Matthew Saeed to do an investigation and actually really look into it to actually see what really happened. But
that's a really interesting comparison.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
How interesting that he thought of it.
To what? To draw up the
compare and contrast between the two.
Yeah. But I think he was saddened because he was saddened particularly by the story of just how much of a sharing environment the air industry has, and it just doesn't exist, or it didn't exist at the time in the health service.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That was an interesting diversion. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was quite.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So.
That is Boeing. I'm still going to fly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to check out which plane I get on first. I might check out the seat configuration to make sure I'm not sat next to weirdos.
Yeah. It is still the safest mode of transport. Probably even safer than walking to the shop.
Statistically, probably, yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks for supporting us by downloading and listening to this episode.
And a massive thank you also to Dorney, Emily, Nat and Lewis and the BTD Studios for all your expertise in bringing our podcasting dream to reality.
We'd love it if you commented on this episode, as we'd really like to know what you think and what you might like us to cover in future episodes.
And we'll see you on the next one.